Hello everybody and welcome back. This is the new name of this show is no longer Tuesday Talks because we do it too often on other days. Welcome to what we're now calling the Shiz Show, and we have to call it the Shiz Show because it has to match with Dumb Feck Friday. I was thinking about like the Shat Show, but I kind of thought that that would imply too much William Shatner, and I don't know if I want that much William Shatner in my life. Not that I dislike him. His Twitter definitely fits the motif, but I thought that might be a little bit too much. So if you guys think of something that's easier to say than the Shiz Show, which is kind of a little bit difficult, I'm open to suggestions, is what I'm getting at. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being so patient for me to start talking about this Wizards of the Coast debacle as it continues to make its way into our lives and being more and more on fire as it is continuing to be an absolute dumpster. Ooh, the Shart Show. Ooh, that might be a good one. I like that. I do like that. All right, we'll see. We'll see. Please give me your suggestions in the comment section down below, or feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. There is also like direct. So while I was on Dapper Dino's channel a couple of days ago, it might have been like a week ago at this point. Somebody had asked a question how much you could possibly make a YouTube membership or a Patreon membership, and I set both of them to see what they could be. I removed the Patreon already, and I've forgotten what it is. It's something like just under like 1,000 or what I don't remember. You know what? I don't remember. I have to go look. But the Patreon, there is now a members one that it's like $699.99, and YouTube approved it because you have to go through and approve them, right? And all I changed was you get access to all the other stuff and also access to me on social media. So if you'd like to give me basically 700 Canadian dollars, you can contact me on Twitter. Or you can just contact me on Twitter. But hey, if you want to give me 30% less of 700 bucks Canadian, hey, I ain't gonna complain. Anyway, welcome back. I'm delaying talking about Wizards because yikes. But it is what it is. So is that 490? Thank you for math. Fireside chat. I kind of like the TSS hashtag, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, this rude. Why? We're gonna adjust this real quick. I probably should have done this earlier. We're gonna make some quick tweaks. Get out of my face. There we go. That's lovely. We have some things to talk about what Wizards has said over the past week. And for the most part, again, it's not. A lot of people are very, very doom and gloom about the situation, and for some people, I think it's warranted, and for some people, it's like outrage, and for some people, they're just kind of getting caught up in the flow. I did see a handful of people who were far more accepting of the more recent stuff than I kind of expected, and then I've also seen it swung the other way. So let's take a look here and see what we're dealing. Oh, that's why it looked like that. I just have it large on my screen for no reason. Normally, I would have it like this. How much did that mess with it? Oh, a decent amount. Okay, let's get this tweaked real quick. I apologize. I should have done this ahead of time, and I forgot. Let me just fix this. Oh, live production. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. There we go. And a little bit more. There we go. Okay, cool. Hopefully this works when I move over to here. It does not. Mm. 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 You know what? Let's just tweak for this one because I think this one's going to be the longer read. Or at least the one that matters more. Whoop. Oh. A narrow boy. I see. Do. There we go. And there we go. Ta-da! That'll do. It'll look a little different on here, but Twitter's Twitter, and it's gonna do Twitter things anyway. So, there it is. So, as you can see, we have a certain situation going on. I'm gonna do this in order, as it was released to us. So I'm gonna try and... I am, like, having a time. Jesus Christ. There we go. I also can't call it the shit show, by the way, because YouTube doesn't like swears anymore, and I don't know if anybody has noticed some of the responses that people have been giving to that situation, but I did watch a Markiplier video last night, and it was all bleeped, and I was like, oh god, I hate this one. It's terrible. It's real bad. Okay, let's get started. This is from January 18th. This was released at the same time. Then we have, this was released on the 19th. So we've got the 18th, the 19th, the 19th, because this is this link there. And then we have the 20th, and then somebody's thing that I just thought was interesting that I wanted to touch on. So we're going to do this in chronological order. So we got this, which is, hey everyone, we've seen some misinformation popping up and want to address it directly so we can dispel your concerns. And here's the thing. This popped up real quick. It took them nearly a month to respond to the backlash initially. And now it seems like they're on top of it. Now, I don't know if that's going to be them following through with the transparency that they talked about last time. If you haven't seen the other videos, please go check those out, where we've talked about that a little bit more, in a more elaborate fashion. But for now, this is them addressing it. Maybe it's them being more transparent, maybe it's them being more on top of things, so maybe this is good, or maybe it's not. I'll let you guys be the judge. So let's jump right into this. Hi everyone. Hey everyone. We've seen misinformation popping up and want to address it directly so we can dispel your concerns. Rumors of a $30 subscription fee are false. That's it. That's all they said. They didn't say what the subscription fee amount would be. They didn't show us any paperwork. They didn't say, here's what our plan actually is, or that we don't have a plan for this yet. These are some numbers we just threw out there. All it says is, this is false, and gives nobody anything to go off of. Not a great start, but it's something. Do you believe them? $30 subscription fee for D&D Beyond is a really steep asking price. That's... how much money is that in a year? $30 a month multiplied by 12? $360 in a year? It's gonna cost you $1 a day. Less than a cup of coffee to get access to your Dungeons and Dragons characters. It's $29.99. Yeah, you're right, exactly. So if it's not 30, how much is it? Alright, okay. So, no one at Wizards is working on AI DMs. Now, we talked about this when we had the panel the other day, where we thought that the AI DM was kind of a bunk rumor that's been around for a long time, and that we could see them doing tools, but the idea of an AI DM is kind of a joke, or at least it was kind of a joke to us. Even in a hypothetical, it's like, this doesn't function. So that's what we kind of came to the conclusion of. But the phrasing of this is not great. So it says, no one at Wizards is working on AI DMs. We love our human DMs too much. If you're looking for a DM, we suggest heading to our Discord, where DMs and parties are looking for players. Okay, so I don't have any problem with them shilling their Discord. Fine, no problem. What I don't like is this, no one at Wizards is working on AI DMs. This is what I like to call, if you're familiar with the channel, specifically vague. Specifically vague means that we're giving you specific information, but we're being vague on purpose about details. No one's at Wizards is awfully specific, and they're very vague about if there's anyone that works for Hasbro or any third party that may or may not be working for Wizards in this case. Now, do I think that is the case? Probably not. I'm more taking umbrage with the actual verbiage and the way this is being presented, less than the actual facts of the matter, right? So do I think that Wizards is working on an AI? No, I don't think that Wizards is working on an AI DM. Could they be working on like a pick your own adventure type thing? Sure. Maybe. However, this is not transparent to me. This is not the way you phrase things when you're being transparent. The way you would phrase things if you're being transparent would be to say, no one is working at or for Wizards, or nobody is working in conjunction with Wizards or Hasbro, or working on D&D, Dungeons and Dragons content that is working on an AI Dungeon Master. Something along these lines. Being specific about it being Wizards leaves too much room for speculation, and it doesn't seem like it's as open as it could be. Okay. We have designers whose core job is to compile, analyze, and then act upon your feedback. Your feedback has made the game better over the past decade, and your feedback is central to Dungeons and Dragons' future. This was in regards to a rumor going around that or like a leak that has come into question about whether or not the surveys about like 1D&D or about the OGL were actually being taken seriously, and we're going to get to this a little bit more to see if they've followed through, like with this tweet thread here. However, again, I take umbrage with the presentation. Again, not with the fact of the matter. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they could literally show us anything. Because there's no reason for anybody to take Wizards at their word right now, period, about anything. So just saying, oh, we have this thing, okay, show us. Who's on the team? Is there an inbox that this all specifically goes through? Is there like an in and out, yada, yada, yada? And I know that a company does not generally want to put that kind of information forward. This is all like quote unquote insider information that we're not entitled to. And I agree with that. However, when you're trying to dispel rumors, and when you fucked up with a community so badly, you've put yourself into a really awkward position. And when you go ahead and say, we're going to be transparent about this process, and we're going to be transparent about more transparent with the community, you need to follow through. This is not it. How about showing some of like the back and forth? Like, here was your feedback, here's how we implemented that. That would be a good start. Here's where we got your feedback, and this is the process, and this is what ended up happening with that feedback. Right? That would be a good start. Publishing the results when we can't see the ballots. We investigated ourselves, but we found we did nothing wrong. Or look, the direction we went in was the result of the survey. And it's like, we can't see the survey totals. We just see the results at the end, right? We aren't the ones counting the ballots. And again, ultimately, this is normal. This is the way a company would generally operate. However, Wizards has put itself into a position where it cannot operate the way it generally would because they've lost the trust and the faith, goodwill that they've built with the community. Right? So you have to rebuild that, and you've said you were going to be transparent, so you have to give them more insider information that you generally would. If that's the direction you choose to go in, and that's the direction they've said they've gone in. So again, I'm not taking umbrage with the fact of the matter, I'm taking umbrage with the presentation. So, homebrewing is core to to D&D Beyond. It's not going away. You don't get to decide that. You guys, the D&D community is the one that makes homebrew and gives it to you and publishes it on your space or puts it on your space. They don't have to do that. They've never had to do that. They did that out of the goodness of their hearts. Or they did that because they love the game. Or they did that because they thought they made something cool that they could make a buck off of. So you don't get to decide if people decide to no longer publish on your platform or not. Particularly if now they have to pay to do it, when it used to be free. Depending on the amount of money, that may or may not be reasonable. Etsy has a cost to publish your stuff. That's fine. Or to promote or put your stuff out there where people can find it. There's a cost there. And people are willing to eat that cost generally, but people don't trust you. And when people don't trust you, I saw somebody asking if they would be able to pull their homebrew off the website. I saw no answer to that. I saw people talking about how, so you can we have to pay you for you to make money off of us. Is that the direction you're going in? And so that doesn't matter what the subscription fee is, whether it's $30 or not, right? Even if it's less, let's say it's $1. Let's say it's $1, right? Let's say you go to the App Store, you download D&D Beyond, it costs you $1 to download. And it costs you $1 a month, and you're fine with that, no problem. That's not a huge expense, right? But if Wizards is going to say, if you want to publish anything, it's going to cost you a publication fee per upload. Or they say, hey, listen, with this low tier, because I heard rumors about a tier process, and they have like different amounts depending on what you're doing or what you want access to on D&D Beyond, which is fine. I don't have a problem with a tier system. But let's say you want to do that. And you say, okay, well, people for $1 get one publication slot. So you can publish one thing. Or let's say you get one publication slot a month. That'd be pretty good for $1. But if it's like, no, if you want to publish more than one thing ever, you need to pay us a higher tier, right? So let's say it jumps to 5, right? Or let's say it jumps to 15, right? So it's still half of 30. That's still not charging you $30 a month, but do you want to pay $15 a month to publish one or two things that you don't get any money back from? And that Wizards gets to keep even if you leave? I can't say it sounds like a good system, particularly when you're coming off of a system that didn't have anything like this, because that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is you're coming off of a system into this other system, and you're asking for a lot right out the gate. Maybe. We don't know what the amounts are, but no matter what the amounts are, the principle of the matter remains the same. And I do think that if you're going to charge people for content that they're making for you, then they don't get any benefit from, then it may be worthwhile to give them the subscription, do the tier system the opposite way, and say, hey, listen, if you publish like a monster or a spell once every quarter, once every 4 months, we'll waive the subscription fee. Be kind of cool. That might be interesting. And then if you leave and you decide you don't want to be part of it anymore, you take your shit with you. Unfortunately, stuff like that, if you're building a class and that class becomes available in the D&D Beyond dropdowns, what happens to people's characters if you take that shit away? Obviously, the answer is to not have it available in the dropdowns, but I digress. We're not going to change, and we're not going, I'll just start this again. Homebrewing is core to D&D Beyond. It's not going away, and we're not going to charge you for it. So that's good. Your homebrew is and always will be yours. Press X to doubt. We've always been excited to see your creations both on and off D&D Beyond. Sure. Whoops. Sure. Again, we're back to specifically non-specific. We're not going to charge you for it. But if you're charging for D&D Beyond subscriptions, and you have to have a subscription to post, or are you saying you don't need a subscription to post? Because then how do you navigate the... I don't understand this. This sounds like nonsense to me. This sounds like I'm telling you what you want to hear, not what we're doing. Tell us what you're doing. What is the plan? And I understand that part of that has to do with they don't have the plan yet. And they don't have the plan yet because they say they're getting feedback from everybody, right? Okay, then you need to address these rumors in a different way. Because the way you're addressing them leaves a lot of wiggle room and a lot of things that are unclear and a lot of things that might change down the line. What if they do change their minds and say, you know what, we are going to do a tiered subscription thing. And so When you say we're not going to charge you for it, do you mean in totality, or are you going to say you're giving me a free slot and then I have to pay after that? And the answer is they probably don't have a plan yet. In their defense, and I am saying in their defense, because I am trying to be fair. I don't hate Wizards. Again, most of what they're doing would exist in most platforms in general. The problem is the transition from point A to point B, and some other things that we'll get to. So that was that thread. You can tell me how much you believe them. Give me a percentage down below. You think that there's like a yay or a nay? Your homebrew is yours, unless it's lucrative enough and it becomes ours. Yeah, that's a good point. They don't get to tell you that your homebrew is yours. Your homebrew has always been yours. It always is and always will be. This is an asinine statement. We're talking about whether or not you're allowing people to publish it and whether or not you're going to try and claim ownership under the new OGL. Anyway, next one is this. Starting our playtest with a Creative Commons license and an irrevocable new OGL. Alright, before we jump all over this, let's read it first. Because I did do a thread about this, like a kind of a stream of consciousness on Twitter to see, like, what am I getting into? And as I was reading it, because I almost went live as soon as I saw this. And I was like, no, Wizards, you don't control me. I will go live when I damn well please, and I'm gonna wait till Saturday. And you can suck it. Because I'm not gonna just get mad and make a snap decision and be like, alright, let's go live and yell at them. No. No, you're not my real dad. Okay. Starting the OGL playtest. I would, after the last one, maybe not use terminology like this, but I do understand that they are trying to stay on brand a little bit, and like gamery terminology is kind of what they do, so I'm not going to pick on that too much. But it is Kyle. So, remember last time when I was reading it and I started with, oh no, it's Kyle. So, poor guy. Not that I have anything personally against this particular Kyle, I just have a bad history with people named Kyle. Not every person named Kyle. I was just mostly teasing. I was just taking the piss. Okay. Actually, before I move on, I want to kind of catch up on live chat a little bit, because when I'm reading, it's a little bit hard for me to read live chat at the same time, so I'm going to read some of what you're saying here. Scrolling up. Fecal Matters. Start with a parody of the Family Matters theme. Literally just walked in the door coming home from one of the worst shifts ever. Glad I haven't missed much. I'm sorry that you had such a rough shift, Rez. Red Eye said, just give Wizard of the Coast the middle finger and create a game called Underground Prison Complex with big wizards or big lizards or some shit. What could possibly go wrong? Underground Prison Complex. Underground Complex and Godzilla. TM. Always sus when someone is quick to tell you what their position isn't, but slow to tell you what it is. Smitty makes a good point. Yeah. Subscription is free, but if you want anything, you gotta buy the $30 package. That's kind of what I'm thinking might end up being the case. Because again, I don't know what any of the numbers are. All of this was just speculation and rumors. I don't have any like solid, verifiable pieces of information to give you guys on that front about what they're actually planning on doing. I got nothing. I got nothing for you, because the transparent company that said that they were going to be transparent isn't telling us anything. I heard this kind of interpretation before. I think they were specifically dispelling the rumors that without oh my god, I'm still stuck. Wizard of the Coast specifically were working on AI DMs. Yes. Yeah. I find that oddly specific. I have too many streams I'm trying to watch right now. The struggle is real. The struggle is real. Buy more monitors. There was a recent kerfuffle about Etsy upping their cut last year. Yep, that happens. Patreon regularly changes theirs, so they're kind of a pain in the butt that way. We appreciate all the time and effort you put into D&D, but it meant nothing, and you did all of that on your own time. Everything belongs to us. We're sorry you feel that way. I mean, it does kind of feel like that. Nothing burgers? Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. I like this shirt. It's new to me. I am the cutest of Wizards of the Coast. Resistance is futile. Your homebrew, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us. Hold up Creative Commons. That is not a term you bandy around lightly, Wizards. Yes. Yep. 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 And Letty said it should be a corporate requirement that everyone that works at without a Wizards of the Coast has to play at least one ongoing game per month. That'd be interesting. Have you seen the Legal Eagle video episode about this that points out that it is unlikely that they can enforce all of this? Yes, it's actually linked down below in the description if you are interested in watching that. We did talk about that a little bit more in depth twice already, so if you want to go and check those, there we kind of went over it a little bit more thoroughly. And I say we because it wasn't just me there, which is generally good. Okay, so let's jump into this one. For over 20 years, thousands of creators have helped grow the TTRPG community using a shared set of game mechanics that are the foundation for their unique worlds and other creations. We don't want that to change, and we've heard loud and clear that you don't either. Wait, I missed one. Hold on, I missed an update. There was another update that I did a thread about. Hold on, I just want to find it. I can't remember if I did it as a... Hold on. Here it is. No, this is the right one. Wait a minute, what have I done here? I'm making a mess. I'm falling apart, guys. Yeah, this is the one that I'm reading right now. Okay, yeah. There was one that I missed. Elistray is awesome. Ah, here it is. Which one is this? Let's talk about the path forward. Did I do a video about this one? I didn't. This is the one I missed. Okay, this was from January 18th. This was 2 days ago, which was 19th. Okay, yeah, I did miss one. Okay, we're going to talk about this one first, because I don't know how I managed to miss this. So yeah, let's talk about the path forward, because this one matters a lot. Working on a conversation about the open gaming license OGL. All right, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. Learn about the Creative Commons. So this is the draft. This is the 19th. This is the one we're moving on to. Hi, I'm Kyle Brink. Yes. And it was like, oh no, it's a Kyle. Okay, I'm back to where I thought I was. Okay, we're catching up. There were 4 updates, not 3. My mistake. The executive producer on D&D. It's my team that makes the game we all play. Bro, I am so sorry for you having to deal with this, because I doubt it's your fault. But my god, man. D&D has been... D&D has been a huge part of my life long before I worked at Wizards, and will be for a long time after I'm done. My mission, and that of the entire D&D team, is to help bring everyone the creative joy and lifelong friendships that D&D has given us. Blah blah blah, emotional nonsense. Moving on. These past days, let me butter you up with how much I love this game. I love this game just as much as you do. Huzzah. These past few days and weeks have been incredibly tough for everyone, to say the least. As players, fans, and stewards of the game, we can't and we won't let things continue like this. That's not up to you at this point. You're not stewards of the game. Stop it. You're not in charge of what happens at people's tables. Stop it. We do not need Big Brother, Kyle, and Big Brother Wizards of the Coast to tell us what we can and cannot have at our tables. That's what safety tools are for. Safety tools are basically you talk to each other at your table about what you're comfortable with playing around and with, utilizing a set of rules which Wizards of the Coast does not own. So, if you want to have Nazis in your game, you're allowed to do that. And nobody can stop you. Now, should you do a live stream about Nazis in your game? Maybe not. Might not be a good idea. Might be problematic. Depends on what you're doing and how you're presenting it. But that's up to the community to decide. What the community and what social standards are set for that time period is going to tell you what is and is not acceptable at a table, and that'll also be up to individuals and their comfort level. Maybe not everybody's going to be comfortable playing in your Nazi game, but maybe there are some people who would be comfortable playing in your Nazi game. Or, hey, we're not going to have Big Brother telling us we can't have trans people in our game, if you want to go the complete opposite direction. Because there would have been once upon a time where they'd be like, you can play D&D on Sunday. It's up to the people to dictate that kind of stuff. You're not a steward of the game. That's not your job. Nobody wants you doing that. We can't and won't let things continue like this. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what they say, because this is not a really very good start for not doing that by calling yourselves stewards. I'm here today to talk about a path forward. A path forward where you're stewards of the game. I ain't down with that path. Maybe other people will be, though. I'm just one person. First, though, let me start with an apology. We are sorry. We got it wrong. I mean, I feel like if you took all of this out, that would probably be a good start. Maybe. Our language and requirements in the draft OGL, were disruptive to creators and not in support of our core goals of protecting and cultivating an inclusive play environment and limiting the OGL to TTRPGs. Protecting and cultivating an inclusive play environment is up to the table playing the game. The only thing you have control of is what happens in your Discord and what happens on your forums. So you can shut that shit down and that conversation down in your spaces, but you're not allowed to do it in other spaces. So you can encourage people in a direction or not, or away from specific things, depending on some of the language maybe you put in your books, but that's about it. You don't get to dictate the rest of this. And I appreciate you're trying to cultivate like a positive environment, but what company doesn't want a positive environment? This is asinine to me. Then we compounded things by being silent for too long. Why? That would have been a good thing to cover here. Why were you silent for so long? Because I don't think we've ever gotten an answer for that one. Why did Wizards decide not to say anything for as long as they did? I would like to know that. I think that would be an interesting tidbit of information. Again, none of this is information I'm entitled to, and I don't want to come across that I feel like they have to tell us anything. They really don't. They're a company. They're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. But I would like to know why they decided not to talk about this for a really long time. I'd be curious to know what was going on. I'd like to be a fly on the wall. And again, since they talked about being transparent, maybe give us that information. We hurt fans and creators when more frequent and clear communications could have prevented so much of this. That thread about misinformation didn't have these things. Starting now. When was this? 3 days ago. 18th. It is now the 21st. 21st, 20th, 19th, 18th. So these came out on the same day. So in one they're talking about being more transparent and using clear and concise language, and then they put out this thread that does not use clear and concise language. Okay. Starting now. Do I need to look at the timestamps? We're going to do this a better way, more open and transparent, with our entire community of creators. You probably should stop calling everybody our. Stop thinking anybody owes you or is part of your group or your in-group, because at this point I think that might not be very good language to be putting forth. So a lot of people don't really want to be part of your nonsense. With the time, what you should say, with the entire community of creators, not our entire community of creators, unless you're purposefully being exclusive. Like, unless you're purposely saying that we only want people who are supportive of us and of what we're doing, or you're saying that we only want people who make specific types of things, or we only want like our in-group who already works for us. I mean, that's not very open. So that seems to be the opposite of what you're trying to get across, but maybe I'm being nitpicky. Chad, am I being nitpicky? Am I being nitpicky? Mark off giraffe on your chess history bingo. Yes. Maybe I'm doing too picky. You let me know. With the time to iterate and to get feedback to improve. This goes kind of against what they were saying about it being a draft and that they were already pulling information from people. Because if they were already doing that, why would there be a need to change? They would say, hey, the way we initially had this information come out wasn't very clear. We were doing work in the background to try to get information and feedback from people, and now we want to open that feedback to everybody else, seeing as the situation is what it is now. But the way this words to me makes it sound like they were not doing that initially, which kind of goes against a couple things. Now maybe it's because their language is not being clear, or maybe I'm being too picky. I digress. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's how we do it for the game itself, so let's do it that way for the OGL too. When I did my thread, I specified this is not why this sounds familiar. This kind of stuff sounds familiar because this is the kind of jargon and kind of like apology, we're moving forward without really acknowledging things, or we're moving forward and definitely doing things differently without actually doing things differently. This is the kind of like jargon and like phrasing you hear whenever a company fucks up. There's nothing unique about this. Not that that's inherently a bad thing, but this is not why it sounds familiar. We'll listen to you. Okay. And then we will share with you what we've heard, much like we do in our Unearthed Arcana and 1D&D playtests. This will be a robust conversation before we release any version of the OGL. Here's what to expect. 1. On or before Friday, January 20th, yesterday, we'll share new proposed OGL documentation for your review and feedback, much as we do with the playtest materials. They did do that. 2. After you review the proposed OGL, you will be able to fill out a quick survey, much like Unearthed Arcana playtest feedback surveys. It will ask you specific questions about the documentation and include open form fields to share any other feedback you have. That's good. Some specific questions about what they want to know, and open space for you to be able to actually give your thoughts. Good. This is all good. 3. The survey will remain open for at least 2 weeks. I don't know if that's long enough. I think if they weren't going to respond for almost a month, I think it's fair to give everybody else a month. But 2 weeks is a fine, I think. I don't know if that's enough time to like consult with lawyers if you're working more in a business technical area or like your business is going to be effective. I'm not sure if 2 weeks is reasonable. I think it would be better, or at least it would come across better if they were like, it took us a month to get back to you, so we're gonna give you guys a month to get back to us. But I don't know if that's actually affected anybody, so. And we'll give you advance notice before it closes so that anyone who wants to participate can complete the survey. Then we will compile, analyze, react to, and present back what we've heard from you. Okay. All right. So like to say that, no, listen, we're understanding what you're saying, you're going to repeat it, you're going to steel man people. You're going to steel man what they're trying to say. Or you're going to straw man it and it's going to go bad, but I like the idea of taking this with a grain of salt, but I also like the idea of, like, best foot forward. Best foot forward. Yeah, Feline, you got a good point. We'll get to that. Finally, you deserve some stability and clarity. You should have started with this sentence and took out finally. We're sorry. You deserve some stability and clarity. Here's where we fucked up. Here's what we're gonna do. This is what you actually should have started with. We're sorry. You deserve stability and clarity, and our actions have disrupted that or have caused an unstable environment, and that was not our intention. We apologize. Here's what we're going to do to start rebuilding that stability, as we know we can't just enforce it right away because we have lost your trust. So here's what we're going to do to try to build that back. That's how this should have started, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a goblin. We are committed to giving creators both input into and room to prepare for any update to the OGL. People don't want changes to the OGL. So they just don't care. Or they've just decided, to be fair, maybe they do care, but they've decided that the OGL is changing. That is not, period. They're not negotiating on that point. They're saying the OGL is changing, period. End of sentence. How it changes and what specifics happen may be up to some kind of negotiation. There'll be things that they're willing to negotiate on and things that they're not willing to negotiate on, and they're kind of saying that they're going to make that clear, but they're not going to make that clear now. They're going to wait till they get all your feedback first, then they're going to be clear, maybe, about what they're not willing to change. I mean, I think it would be better if they were straightforward and transparent and clear about what they're willing to negotiate on and what they're willing to not, what they're not willing to negotiate on. If they wanted to be clear and concise and create some kind of stability, at least then people would know, like, what the fuck? Also, there's a ton of stuff that isn't going to be affected by an OGL update. So today, right now, we'll lay out all the areas in that this conversation won't touch. Okay. Any changes to the OGL will have no impact on at least these creative efforts. Your video content. Whether you are a communicator, streamer, podcaster, live play cast member, or any other video creator on platforms like YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok, you have always been covered by the Wizards fan content policy. The OGL doesn't and won't touch any of this. We read the Wizard fan content policy, and it's got some problems. There's a ton of stuff that isn't going to be affected. Stuff. Very clear and concise language. Stuff. Your accessories of your own content. No changes to the OGL will affect your ability to sell minis, novels, apparel, dice, and other items related to your creations, characters, and worlds. Novels? What? I need to get my little goblin hands on all these novels people have been writing for that uses D&D stuff that would be covered under the fan stuff and not OGL, because I don't know how you would have a world or like write a book that takes place in Dark Sun and uses the world name, the location name, or like names of locations like cities, or like if I were to write in Forgotten Realms, for example, and I use the names of the gods, and I use the name of like Waterdeep, and I use Xanathar, those aren't my characters. That's not my world. So what could they possibly be referring to here? That, like, fucking what? And yeah, and Feline makes a good point. What line differentiates owned content? I mean, my own. What the fuck? The fuck does this entire chunk mean? Call the book Beholders of Waterdeep and see how fast lawyers come calling. Yes. Yes, Beholders of Waterdeep, and have Xanathar in it? Have Xanathar on the cover? Uh-huh. Murphy and the Adventures at the Sword Coast. Right. Because I don't own that location. That's their IP. That is their IP. That's one of the things that they do actually own. So if I were to write a book that takes place in Sword Coast and covers the adventures of my character, what the fuck? What? I want to know what books have been written that would fall under this that uses Dungeons and Dragons, but not enough to be covered. I don't know what this means. And it's the novels that's getting me, to be honest. Like my hat, here, this one. This is like apparel, and I talked about this before. This is a hat that's got a D20 on it. I don't know if you can see it. And it's got a 1 on it, and it says, well, fuck. They didn't own this in the first place. They don't own the D20. They don't own a natural 1 being a fail. So, what are they talking about? I do not know what this actually refers to. Yeah, I'm good to see you. Non-published works, for instance, contracted services. You use the OGL if you want to publish your works that reference 5th edition content through the SRD. That means commissioned work, paid DM services, consulting, and so on aren't affected under the OGL. You use the OGL, but that's not affected by the OGL. I might be stupid. Like, it might just be me being dumb. Like, maybe I'm just not putting together what they're trying to tell me here. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. And that very well might be the case, and I'm willing to grant that one. I'm willing to grant that I'm a stupid. I'm absolutely willing to grant that I'm dumb and I'm not understanding what this means. If you use the OGL if you want to publish your works that reference 5th edition content through the SRD. That means commissioned work, paid DM services, consulting, and so on aren't affected by the OGL. But if I'm using the OGL to be covered, how am I not affected by the OGL? Do they mean that the changes aren't affecting me? I don't understand. And I one of the reasons why I don't really like this, is that they're cutting off this entire part of the conversation by doing this. Because they said specifically, like, today, right now, we'll lay out all the areas that this conversation won't touch. And so they're saying that changes are coming, but we're not talking about any of these things because the conversation doesn't touch these things. And I don't understand how. So does that mean like if somebody comes to you with a question about this one or this one because they don't understand what you're saying here because your clear and concise language is confusing, you're just going to say we're not having a conversation like that because we said we weren't talking about that? But I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand. Maybe I'm not business minded enough. Maybe that's the problem. What are you guys on about? What are you guys on about? Am I being bullied? Oh, good morning, Landon. So, with this situation, does that mean like if I'm if I as an artist I get commissioned to draw somebody's D&D group or D&D characters, which I love doing by the way. If you want me to draw D&D and do hire me to draw your D&D characters because they are your babies and I love drawing your babies. Please give me your babies is what I'm getting at. Does that mean that I don't fall under the OGL at all, or do I fall under the fan thing, or am I just a separate entity entirely? What if I'm a producer of a show that does D&D stuff? Does the content of the show matter to whether or not what I'm getting paid falls under the OGL, or is it because that I'm doing production, it counts as an entirely separate entity? Smitty says I haven't ruined enough businesses to understand. That's fair. VTT content, so virtual tabletop. Any updates to the OGL will still allow any creator to publish content on VTTs and will allow VTT publishers to use OGL content on their platform. Then they're part of the conversation. DM's Guild content. The content you release on DM's Guild is published under a community content agreement with Dungeons Masters Guild. This is not changing. That makes sense, but like the Dungeons Master Guild is very strict about what you can and cannot publish there. Right? They have very, very stringent rules. So it would make sense that agreement between Wizards and the Dungeons Masters Guild isn't changing, but I don't think that inherently means there will be no changes in the way it's approached. So I don't. Again, maybe I'm being too nitpicky. Your OGL 1.0A content. Nothing will impact any content you have published under OGL 1.0A. That will always be licensed under OGL 10A. 1.0A. So basically this is saying that if you've already published something, that publication stays and doesn't have to be changed. I'd be curious about how that applies to like republishing or reposting or utilizing it. So if I publish something and then in 2018, and let's take for example like the Blood Hunter. So let's say I published the Blood Hunter back in 2018, and that was all well and good. And then in 2024, I decide I want to re-release it with some modifications, or if I want to use it in a live play, or if I want to use it as part of a book that I want to put out. Is it still covered, or does it need to be changed? Your revenue. There will be no royalty or financial reporting requirements. Good, you couldn't have that anyway. Your ownership of your content. You will continue to own your content with no license back requirements. Great, thanks. That's all for me for now. You will hear again from us on or before Friday as described above, and we look forward to the conversation, Kyle. Thanks, Kyle. So, there was a point brought up by Feline here, where they said, here, the survey will remain open and then we'll give you advance notice before it closes. Then we will compile, analyze, react to, and present back what we heard from you. Where is the guarantee that you're going to respond to the things that people sent you? Like, where's the transparency in that? What format are you using to say, here's the number of things that we have, comments we have about this thing, and here was the process by which we counted them, and here's by like, when you say you're going to compile them, cool, how are you compiling them? When you say you're going to analyze them, okay, cool, under what standard? When you're reacting and presenting back what we heard from you, how do we know that what you present back to us is actually in line with what the majority of people were saying outside of the obvious? I don't know. Cool, so we got there. Let's check this now. Here we go. Starting the LGL playtest. Hooray! We got a deal, Kyle. God damn it, Kyle! For 20 years, thousands of creators have helped grow the TTRPG community. I haven't read this. Using a shared set of game mechanics that are the foundation for their unique worlds and other creations. We don't want that to change, and we've heard loud and clear, neither do you. You can't change that. You don't own the game mechanics. That's not how copyright and trademark work. You don't own game mechanics. The best you can get is maybe terminology, and that's a gray area. We're doing two things. One, we're giving the core D&D mechanics to the community through a Creative Commons license, which means they are fully in your hands. You don't own the Brooklyn Bridge. You can't sell it to people. You don't own the 5th edition mechanics. You can't give them to people through any Creative Commons license because you don't own them. Because they're mechanics. What you own is your flavor. What you own is your phrasing and presentation. You don't and cannot own mechanics. And if you don't want anything to change, why do you keep trying to change things? Who's yelling at me? Hold on. Please excuse me. Oh, it's Lawrence Krauss being a hypocrite. Cool. So, Atheist Alliance International stuff, don't worry about it. So, what does this Creative Commons license even say? You are free to, oh, I'm gonna get a virus. Big old donate now. Okay. You are free to share, copy, and redistribute the materials in any medium or format. Adapt, remix, transform, and build upon the material for any purposes, even commercially. You are already allowed to do that. That's something you are already allowed to do. Under the following terms. Attribution. You must give appropriate credit, provide a link to the license, and indicate if changes were made. You may do so in any reasonable manner, but not in any way that suggests the licensor endorses you or your use. No additional restrictions. You may not apply legal terms or technological measures that legally restrict others from doing anything the license permits. Notices. You do not have to comply with the license for elements of the material in the public domain or where your use is permeated by an applicable exception or limitation. No warranties are given. The license may not give you all of the permissions necessary for your intended use. For example, other rights such as publicity, privacy, or moral rights may limit how you use the material. Feline, I'm going to have to ask you to do me a favor. You can't keep asking what is reasonable manner because this is clear and concise language. I'm going to need you to calm down. What's not clear and concise about reasonable manner? Oh, permitted, sorry, yeah. Blah, blah. Your use is permitted by applicable exception or limitation. So I'm not going to go through the rest of this for now. I think that's enough to give you the idea. I definitely encourage you read this on your own. I'll make sure all the links are in the description down below so you can follow through with your own lawyers or your lawyer friends who are definitely not giving you legal advice. And you have 2 weeks, by the way, so make sure you get that shit done. Excuse me 1 second. Boop, boop. There we go. Stop these microaggressions against the multi-million-dollar company? Yeah, what the hell? There's one thing that the Creative Commons license actually does that I think is good. And it's... And I'm not sure it 100% applies, because this specifies the core mechanics to the community. And so I have seen people talking about how this would apply really well for the language. So, for example, a DC 15 wisdom saving throw. How much of that does Wizards own? And I think there's a conversation to be had about that, because I think some of that falls in the gray area. Because they don't own the concept of a saving throw. They don't own the the checks, because that's a mechanic. They can't own wisdom, but they might own the phrase as an artistic representation. Maybe. And that would be something that you would have to suss out. I don't know enough to say how well that argument would go, either from a court standard or from like a public standard, right? And this is why I think having the conversation about what Wizards does and doesn't own being important. Because if this says the core mechanics, I don't think it necessarily applies to the flavor, right? It doesn't apply to the phrasing, right? One of the things that made this community and made D&D as long-lasting as it did, particularly with 5th edition, was that people were able to use common terms, common phrasing for whatever game they wanted to play. So they didn't have to come up with a whole thing and then convince people to play it. They could just use the pre-existing stuff, right? So I'm not entirely sure that this phrase here, this Creative Commons, actually applies to, like, say the novel you're writing, or say the mechanics that you're writing for a new class, right? I'm not sure. I don't think this does, because it specifies mechanics. But I digress. 2. If you want to use quintessentially D&D content from the SRD, such as Owlbears and Magic Missile, OGL 1.2 will provide you a perpetual, irrevocable license to do so. I don't believe you. And I don't believe you because the previous license was also supposed to be irrevocable. In perpetuity, if you will. Prove it. Show me. Creative Commons is a non-profit dedicated to sharing knowledge, and it developed a set of licenses to let creators do that. Creative Commons license we picked lets us give everyone those core mechanics that they don't own forever, because they already had them. Because we don't control the license, you don't own the mechanics. It's the same way Hasbro doesn't own the mechanics of Monopoly. They own the Monopoly man. They own the board as it is represented in the average board of Monopoly. But a game going around and buying property and playing economics on a board isn't owned by Monopoly. And it's not owned by... They own calling it Monopoly. Because we don't control the license, releasing the D&D core rules under the Creative Commons will be a decision we can never change. Stop pretending you're making a decision you can make. And this is what bothers me. Why? I saw somebody asking why people are so confused about what they can and cannot do, and whether or not they're allowed to, like, what they're allowed to make, and what the OGL actually does and does not affect. This is why. Why do people think that they couldn't already make the class or make whatever thing that they were already making? Because Wizards is confusing people, and at this point I think it's on purpose. Let's talk OGL 1.2. Sure, Kyle, let's do that. And the important ways it's different from 1.0a. Okay, so we're just ignoring 1.1. Probably a good idea. First, it allows us to address hateful content. Clear and concise language. What is hateful content? Second, it only applies to published TTRPG content, including on VTTs. Only applies to published TTRPG content. What is published TTRPG content? This video could arguably be published TTRPG content. I'm talking about TTRPGs, I'm reviewing D&D content. You said in the other one that video stuff and real plays wouldn't count, but now you're saying it only applies to this. Third, this license specifically includes the word irrevocable. Cool. Thanks. What's not in there? There's no royalty payment, no financial reporting, no license back, no registration, no distinction between commercial and non-commercial. Nothing will impact any content you have already published under OGL 1.0a. I thought you were comparing 1.2 and 1.0a. This is comparing 1.2, which you haven't given to us yet, and the changes you were talking about, referencing 1.0a. What the fuck are you talking about? Can you pick a lane? How about you just give us a side-by-side? Give us a three-way side-by-side. Hey, this is what was covered under the OGL 1.0a. Hey, this is what we our initial thing that got leaked. This is what we're proposing with 1.2. And then let people fucking do it. Why are you writing me paragraphs? Give me a chart. And if you're going to talk about OGL 1.2, just tell me what 1.2 is. Then we can talk about it. Because if I don't know what the fuck it is, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Am I stupid? Is this me? I'm really starting to feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I feel like we're back to I'm not really having a problem with whatever it is you're doing because I don't even know what the fuck you're doing. Because what you're presenting to me isn't telling me anything. It's true. Smitty is correct. I refuse to do business negotiation without fart noises. Okay. Your stuff is your stuff. Cool. Thanks. There's a link at the end of the note where you can download a PDF of the proposed OGL 1.2 along with supporting documents for your review and feedback. Put this at the beginning! I still think you're skipping your PR department. Before you scroll down and grab it, let me give you more details on what's in there. Before you read it, let me gaslight you and tell you what's in there so you read it with a particular mindset before going in. I want to make sure you're primed to read this in the right way, guys. Uh-oh. We got a red flag? Can we put that up, please? Thank you. Protecting D&D's inclusive play experience. As I said above, content more clearly associated with D&D, like classes, spells, and monsters, is what falls under the OGL. You'll see that OGL 1.2 lets us act when offensive or hurtful content is published using the covered D&D stuff. Clear and concise language. To be transparent. Stuff. Thank you for all the red flags. Appreciate that. I need your help. Please help me. Please. Somebody. We want an inclusive, safe play experience for everyone. Then run your own fucking games. Then let people pay. If you want people to pay for your shit, Be like, hey, we're Dungeons and Dragons D&D Beyond, and we host VTT plays for people who want to play, and we make sure that we follow these specific guidelines when we do that. And no, you don't want a safe play experience for everyone, because then you run into I was almost so smart. The paradox of tolerance. And no, I'm not explaining that what that is. Again, you go find it. I believe in you. This is deeply important to us, and OGL 1.0a didn't give us any ability to ensure it. This one doesn't give you any ability to ensure it. You don't get to tell people what they can do with their home games. You don't get to tell people what they can do, whether or not they make accessible their version of something that has horrific shit in it. Like, we fucking, on this channel, have gone and pointed and laughed at somebody who wrote a book that had the role of women. We're not children. We're not babies. People can fucking pick and choose what games they feel comfortable playing in. You can pick and choose. You get to do that. And giving people tools to help them recognize stuff, that would be something you could do that could be helpful. Restricting everybody isn't going to do that. Especially when you restrict things that aren't inherently harmful in the first place. Having slavers in your game, for example. If you have slavers in your game, some people might not be okay with that. They might not like that there's slaves in their TTRPG. That's okay. They don't have to play at that table. However, that is not going to stop people from wanting to play a game where there are a bunch of chaotic good people and they're going to go save a bunch of slaves. Or are you telling me that it's inappropriate and hateful content to free slaves? One of the best things about Dungeons and Dragons is that it is so malleable. Or was. So you could pretty much had a rule set that allowed you to play whatever the fuck you goddamn well wanted to. Dark Sun, which is a D&D Dungeons and Dragons world, cannot exist under this. And it's theirs. There was a lot of slavery in there. It was like a Mad Max crazy dystopian, the sun is dying world. And so it was dark and gritty. So, but somebody might not like it. Oh, well, okay, don't play Dark Sun. TTRPGs and VTTs. OGL 1.2 will only apply to TTRPG content whether published as books, as electronic publications, or on virtual tabletops. Nobody needs to wonder or worry if it applies to anything else. It doesn't. What's the insurance of that? First off. Second off, TTRPG content is very vague whether published as books, as electronic publications, or on virtual tabletops. I don't think it's a good idea to make assumptions about this. However, I'm going to do it anyway. I assume this means that if you were to create a monster and publish a PDF of that monster that uses like their layout and table and whatever, maybe you make your own art, the art would be protected, but the stat layout wouldn't be. Like the OGL 1.2 would apply to the stat block layout, but not the art. I think? Clear and concise language. Deauthorizing OGL 1.0a. We know this is a big concern. The Creative Commons license and open terms of 1.2 are intended to help with that. One key reason why we have to deauthorize, so they're deauthorizing it. Meaning that anything, if I'm understanding what they were saying before, assuming they're going to continue that way, they're saying anything that was published under this stays under that, but nothing can be published covered by that moving forward of whenever they decide this is a thing. So this is what they've said we're not negotiating on. they are going to deauthorize 1.0a. Period. Sorry, creaky. We can't use the proactive options in 1.2 if someone can just choose to publish harmful, discriminatory, or illegal content under 1.0a. No, if it's illegal, they can't publish it. What the fuck are you talking about? What is illegal? What? I want to know, I would love to see an example of how much of a problem all this hateful content was. Can you give me examples? Like, that would be really useful. Could you show me, like, some statistics? Could you show me, like, hey, under 1.0a, look at in the past, like, 6 months, or, like, the past year, there was a huge increase. Like, hey, remember when we talked about Twitter, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he said he tweeted the bird is free, and the first tweets that were on it were like, hey, can we say it now? Referencing racial slurs. And then when you did a search, there was data points looking at the increase of the use of racial slurs on the platform as soon as he bought it, and it fucking spiked. Do you have that? Do you have data saying, look at people thinking that our stuff is racist in surveys? Do you have, like, some data points of, look at all this hateful content that was released in the past year? I haven't seen this content. I mean, I did see the one that we laughed at that had roles of women, but we didn't say he couldn't publish it. We just wouldn't buy it. That's how fucking that's how capitalism works. I choose not to buy something if I don't like it. And in what world is it a good idea for Dungeons and Dragons Wizards of the Coast Hasbro to tell us what is socially acceptable and what is harmful and discriminatory? Once upon a time, these companies were like, sorry, we can't allow you and your type into our establishment. Sorry. We don't let gays in here. And that was totally fine. You guys remember that whole time period when AIDS was viewed in a really, really negative light and people wouldn't get jobs? That time period when companies were not hiring people and discriminating against people because of that. So we're gonna let a corporation make this decision for us. Thank you, Big Brother Hasbro. Thank you, Big Brother Wizards. Yeah, my glasses went up. I'm sorry. Sorry, I got too real. If it's what do you mean publish illegal content? Fuck off. And again, any content you have already published under OGL 1.0a will always be licensed under OGL 1.0a. Oh, okay, good. So you're telling me that you don't have any data points or examples of where you need to stomp down on this because you're fine with leaving it alone. So you don't have a problem with the things that were being published, or you at least don't have any kind of data point where you're seeing some kind of crazy spike in people being racist. You know, like when you released the Hadozi. That was you. You did that, by the way. So we're going to let you dictate whether or not something is or is not appropriate. Again, I refer you to Dark Sun and the Hadozi. So it's okay if you do it, but nobody else is allowed to do it. Got it. Okay. Very limited license changes allowed. Only 2 sections can be changed once the OGL 1.2 is live. How you cite wizards in your work. And how we can contact each other. We don't know what the future holds or what technologies we will use to communicate with each other, so we thought these 2 sections needed to be future-proofed. Okay, fine. For completeness, let's sum up what else is in OGL 1.2 and supporting documents. Virtual tabletop policy. We will continue to support VTT usage from both OGL creators and VTT operators. The virtual tabletop policy spells this out. So that'd be like your D&D Beyond, Discord-y, or not D&D Beyond, sorry, Roll20 stuff like that. Not that I don't know how much they could do against that, but whatever. Ownership disputes. You own your content. Thanks. That was always the case. You just tried to pretend we didn't. You don't give Wizards any license back, and for any ownership disputes, you can sue for breach of contract and money damages versus holding up products other players are waiting for while we sort it out. Okay. No hateful content or conduct. So basically, if you sue Wizards over an ownership dispute, you can continue to publish while it gets sorted out. Okay. No, if you're suing Wizards, yeah. If Wizards is suing you, that's when that would become a problem for you. Why would it? Okay, whatever. No hateful content or conduct. If you include harmful, discriminatory, or illegal content or engage in that conduct publicly, we can terminate your OGL 1.2 license to our content. Why would you do this without quantifying what hateful conduct or harmful, discriminatory... Why would you say this without defining your terms? Particularly in a legal sense? And what the why are you talking about illegal content? If it's illegal already, it's already not applicable. It would already have its own issues. You wouldn't have to you wouldn't have to use the license. The license would automatically be non-functioning in the first place. Creator product badge. The fuck is this? You'll have the option to include a badge on your OGL works. Hey, everybody who doesn't want to be associated with Wizards because of this shit, well, here's a badge you can use if you want. Because people definitely want to be associated with you now. Once we get your feedback on the badge, we'll create a guide on how to use it and display it. Oh, so this is the thing you're asking for feedback on. Okay. Overall, what we're going for here is giving good faith creators the same level of freedom. Good faith creators? I'm gonna walk away from this in a fucking minute. The same level of freedom or greater for the things in the Creative Commons to create TTRPG content that has been so great for everyone. So again, you're admitting that there is no like, oh my god, we have to shut everything down. Nazis took over our game. While giving us the tools to ensure the game continues to become ever more inclusive and welcoming. Companies change after society does. Companies don't lead societal changes. What the fuck? It has never been the case that an industry has led the change. It's the people who lead the change, particularly generally the people who are being oppressed in the first place. The fuck are you on about? Stop. Fucking stop. Please stop with this language. Get all of this out. All of it is bad. It's garbage. Please, no. Heracles says, couldn't we say Wizards of the Coast is not a good faith creator? Yes. Yo, here's the license finally. Cool, great. We're very interested to read your thoughts. Our team does a great job compiling all the playtest feedback for us in a comprehensible way to reflect and act on, so I'm confident that they'll do the same here. If they do that, why aren't you giving us any of that data that makes it so important that you need to add these restrictions? Is it because that data doesn't exist? I wonder. After you've read the new SRD 5.1 introduction, OGL 1.2, and the VTT policy, provide your feedback. Survey open until February 3rd. We'll talk again or before February 17th. We'll share what we heard from you and the updates to the OGL document as well. The process will extend as long as it needs to. We'll keep iterating and getting your feedback until we get it right without making any kind of concessions to changing the OGL 1.0a. D&D is my life hobby because I'm fundamentally a co-op gamer. Let's tackle this together, Kyle. Why did you put this in here? Kyle, I'm sure you're a lovely person, but fuck off. I don't know if this is the thing you want to tie your career to. Okay. Introduction, how many pages is this? Oh, it's only 6 pages. We're fine. Okay, draft for discussion purposes only. Okay. SRD introduction, OGL 1.2, draft Wizard of the Coast VTT policies. Oh, that's the badges. Ooh, pretty. I'm gonna stamp that on my fucking forehead. Why is this so tiny? Okay, introduction to the system. Ways to create Dungeons & Dragons and the core D&D mechanics, which are located on these pages of the system reference document, blah, 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 blah. The license you are under Creative Commons, blah, blah, blah. That means Wizards is not placing any limitations at all on how you use that content. Yeah, you couldn't anyway. Our copyrights in the other content include the system reference document are licensed to you under the Open Gaming License 1.2. Why wouldn't you give people the this is the document that you should give. Like, if you put this in this, if you took the system reference document and you put that into the Creative Commons thing that we're like, no, we're making this free, that would be something. That would be fucking impressive. Use of D&D content in virtual tabletops is allowed on the terms of Wizards virtual tabletop policy. Use of Wizards content in streaming, fan art, cosplay, other fan content is permitted as described in the Wizards fan content policy, of which I have not seen any changes to, but I wasn't that well versed in it to begin with, so I've only really read it once. So if there have been changes, I wouldn't have noticed them. So blah blah blah. Platforms such as D&D Beyond and DM's Guild provide additional paths to share your D&D content under different terms and licenses. You're saying that you're gonna change. Okay, that just basically means anything that you're publishing under D&D Beyond is gonna be under its own scrutiny. I am getting all huffy and puffy. I'm sick of this shit. Creator product badges. For content published under the OGL 1.2, you may use one of the following badges in the manner specified of the creator's product style guide, so long as you comply with the guide in using the badges. Wizards license under the... What the fuck? Notice, deauthorization of OGL 1.0A, the Open Gaming License, is no longer authorized license. This means that you may not use that version of the OGL or any prior versions to publish SRD content after effective date. It does not mean that any content previously published under the version needs to be updated to the license. Any previously published content remains licensed under whichever version of the OGL was in effect when you published that content. Hey. Discussion for oh, that's so fucking weirdly laid out. Okay. Draft Open Gaming License 1.2, license between Wizards of the Coast LLC, Wizards Us We Our blah. Anyone wants to use the licensed content in their own TTRPG, you your by using our licensed content. You agree to the terms of the license as used in the license we or any other term referring to us, including our affiliates, successors, and predecessors. And predecessors. So that's TSR. License content covered. Our license content. This license covers any content in the SRD 5.1, blah, 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 creative SRD released under this license. This is not licensed to you under the Creative Commons. Yeah, so they're very specific. They're very specific about what they're keeping as theirs, which is their terminology and their presentation. Shocking. Wow. Who'd have thought? You may use this is all just stating shit that was already the case and then pretending that they're giving you fucking bonuses. This is what I meant when I said that they're trying to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. You already had access to utilize the game mechanics all you fucking wanted and do whatever you want with it. Yeah, buy me a beer, please. Unlicensed content. Only our licensed content is licensed under this license. What the fuck? Any other content we release or have released is not licensed to you under this Okay, what's that? Your content. This is your creative contributions or to your works that are not our licensed content or under our unlicensed content. This license permits you to combine your content with our licensed content and distribute the resulting works as authorized by this license. Works covered. This license only applies to printed media and static electronic files. Static electronic files, not updated ones. So if you do a Google Drive that has like a living document on it where you're like adding spells or whatever, that wouldn't apply. It has to be static. Yeah, share alike. Yes, correct. This license permits you to combine. Oh yeah, but works covered. Blah blah blah. PDFs. You create for use in a or as tabletop role playing games and supplements, and in a virtual tabletop in accordance with their table, which they're making a whole nother policy for. Cool, great. Your license work. To be licensed work under the license, it must be covered by work by Section B. Both are licensed in your content to create and not contain our unlicensed content. It would be great if you could tell us what your unlicensed content is. That would be great. Because is it the... What is it? What's your unlicensed content? Copyright. We are only licensing our copyrights in our licensed content, except that under Section 5A, we also grant you a trademark license, the creator badge. Thanks. Nobody needed that. Okay. License. In consideration of your compliance with this license, you may copy, use, modify, and distribute our licensed content around the world as part of your licensed work. This license is perpetual, meaning that it has no set end date. Yeah, the last one didn't have a set end date either. Non-inclusive, meaning that we may offer others a license to our... Sorry, non-exclusive, meaning that we may offer others a license to our licensed content or our unlicensed content under any conditions that we choose. Sure. And irrevocable, meaning that the content licensed under this license can never be withdrawn from the license. That's what you said last time. It also cannot be modified except for the attribution provisions of Section 5 and Section 9 regarding notice. What you own, your license works are your own. They may not be copied or used without your permission. You acknowledge that we and our license as content creators ourselves might independently come up with content similar to something you create. You have a claim that we breached if you have a claim that we breached this provision or that one of our licenses did in connection with content they licensed from us, any such claim will be brought only as a lawsuit for breach of contract and only for money damages. Okay, that's an interesting restriction. You expressly agree that money damages are an adequate remedy for such a breach and that you will not seek or be entitled to injunctive relief. All right. For anybody who's followed my channel, we have done some legal chats and jargon before. If you're trying to... Okay, sure. In any such lawsuit, you must show that we knowingly and intentionally copied your licensed work. Access and substantially similarity will not be enough to prove a breach of Section 3. So basically, okay, let's take, for example, the gift box they gave to everybody when this shit came out. Yeah, actually, RJ makes a really good point. That means that even if you win your claim, they get to keep your shit after you prove it was yours. Because they're saying that money damages are an adequate remedy. Basically, it means that they can pay you off. So you say, hey, I made this thing, and they go, we made this thing, and you're able to prove that they did that on purpose, they can just give you money and they get to keep it. There's nothing in that... You're basically waiving your provision to say that you can't keep distributing my thing. Right? You're waiving that ability. They're also saying, any such lawsuit, you must show that we knowingly and intentionally copied your work, saying that substantial similarity and access will not be enough. So if you trace my drawing and I say, look, you traced my drawing, that's not good enough. You have to show that they intentionally found your drawing, which means you would need the core files, which means you would have to file an injunction to get those core files, assuming they kept them and don't throw them away. This is very American. This is very much, I don't think this is enforceable in a lot of places. I'm not a lawyer, though, so go watch a lawyer YouTuber talk about it. What we own our licensed content and reserve all rights to not expressly grant in this license. Could you please just tell us what you own? I know you don't want to do that, and I know a lot of companies don't like doing it, because in doing so, you're admitting what you don't own, which means you have no legal repercussions even if you want to wiggle your way into something. But it'd be a really nice way of kind of like giving something back to the community that you keep trying to say you want to do. You control your content, except when we control it. You can make your content available under any terms you choose, but you may not change the terms under which we make our licensed content available. Okay. You must clearly indicate that your licensed work contains our licensed content under this license, either by including the full text of this license in your licensed work or by applying for the creator's product badge in compliance with the then current style guidelines. Which would include does that include the Creative Commons? Because if this includes the Creative Commons, then they're basically saying that if you use the D20 system, you have to say it was ours. And it's not. So if this applies to the mechanic part that they were talking about earlier, it basically means that you have to, like, kiss the ring of wizards if you want to make anything using the D20 system. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, though. You may permit the use of your content on any terms you want. However, if any license you offer to your license works is different from the terms of this license, you must include in the license work the attribution of our license content found in the preamble to this applicable SRD, and make clear that our license content included in your license work is made available on the terms of this license. Hey, remember when making shit was real fucking easy? Yeah, fuck that. Nobody likes easily accessed content. Warranties and disclaimers. You represent and warrant that age and capacity to be bound. You are over the age of majority. If you were younger, you had a parent or guardian. Okay, yeah. Authority, you have the power and authority to enter into this license and perform its obligations. No infringement. Your license works do not and will not infringe on any third party's intellectual property rights or rights that are not licensed via this other license. No endorsement except as otherwise expressly allowed by this license. You will not state, suggest, or imply that your license work are endorsed or associated with us. Okay. No illegal content, whatever. No hateful content or conduct. You will not include content in your license work that is harmful, discriminatory, illegal, obscene, or harassing, or engage in conduct that is harmful, discriminatory, illegal, obscene, or harassing. What? So, if you're a criminal, you can't publish a book? What? I'm confused. I'm sorry, this line is confusing me. If I'm a felon and I've done my time, and what does that mean? I can't use this license? I'm not sure. I just don't. I don't mean this to be hyperbole. I mean, I don't understand what you're saying to me. I don't understand this phrasing. What is obscene? Is if, depending on who you ask, there are people that think drag shows are obscene, and there are people that think Hooters is obscene. So if there's a drag show in your game, or like you set up a burlesque bar in your game, or like, let's say, for example, your TTRPG has and it's a setting book, and the setting has a very prominent red light district. Is that obscene? If you put Vegas in your game, is that obscene? Alan makes a good point. There are a lot of people getting caught up on the mechanics portion of the copyright, but the truth is that 90% of the SRD is not copyrightable. Correct. They can only own their presentation of it. They don't own the mechanical portion. Defining this would fuck help their D&D. What? I don't. What do you mean obscene? And like this includes you can't engage in. So if I'm a titty streamer, I don't. Surely that's not the case. Surely that's not what they're saying here. That doesn't make any sense. They're not gonna say that you can't be a drag queen and make D&D content, right? They wouldn't be saying that. That seems stupid. That seems really dumb. Surely that can't be what they're saying. But all of this would need, especially in this kind of document, all of this would need, like, is there an appendix? This is like, this reminds me of the thing you sign when they teach you about smoking is bad for you in when you're clearly too young to make that decision. They're like, here, sign this piece of paper saying you'll never touch a cigarette. And you're like, okay. 5 years later, you're a chain smoker in high school, right? You know what I'm getting at? Like, what the fuck? We have the sole right to decide what content or conduct is hateful, and you covenant that you will not contest any such discrimination via any suit or other legal action. So they can discriminate against you, and you're not allowed to contest it. But you're not allowed to have any discriminatory content. And they didn't even. Okay. Modifications or termination. Modifications. We may only modify the provisions of this license identifying the attribution required under Section 5 and the notice of provision Section 9A. We may not modify any other provisions. Termination. We may immediately terminate your license if you infringe. That's changing. That's modifying. If you can just immediately terminate okay. If you infringe any of our intellectual property, being an action challenging our ownership of our licensed content, trademarks, or patents, violate any law in relation to your activities under the okay, whatever. We may terminate your license if you breach any other terms in this license and do not cure that breach within 30 days of notice, but you already said you could modify that amount of time. And that you couldn't contest it even if they did. RJ says, what they mean and how you think they would use it, quote, it can't be what they're saying. With vague statements is something you never sign. Yeah, no, absolutely, I wouldn't sign this. It's too vague. I wouldn't sign. Don't sign anything without consulting a lawyer, if possible. Disclaimer of warranties and limitations of liability. You understand and agree with blah, 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 blah. Disclaimer in all warranties. We know we have no liability to you for any types of damages in connection with your use of our OGL. So if we sue you, we have no liability to any damages. Or if we misuse your content, we have no liability. Okay. Including without in limitation any direct consequential, special, punitive, or exemplary damages so long as our content at issue was not grossly negligent or intentional. Okay. Miscellaneous notices. We may notify you by any email, physical address we can locate for you, only if we cannot locate your email or physical address after a reasonable search. Notice via, that's debatable in court. Notice via a public channel is sufficient. You may provide notice to us of your email or physical address or any other notice by emailing blah, blah, blah. Entire agreement and disclaimer reliance. This, okay, and so this is the one that they said that they can change. And the reason they said is because, oh, we wanted to future-proof it because we never know what people are going to be using in the future. Okay, so no, this isn't the way you do that. The way you would do that is to say, instead of saying we can change this at any time, what you say is that we can add anything to this at any time. So you still maintain the by email or by physical address, but if there is a new way to communicate that is beyond email, then you would be able to add that to it, not leave it open-ended that you can pull shit out. That would be the way to do that. That's not what they did, but you know, whatever. This license governs your use of our licensed content. This license consists only of the terms expressly included herein, and not any matter not expressly included herein. In accepting this license, you represent and warrant to us that you have relied only on the terms of this license and the advice of your own counsel. If any, you have not relied on anything that is not expressly a part of this license. So you don't get to look at other laws. Okay. TSR and early Wizards of the Coast were so happy, and even though they kept losing, it had a chilling effect on the industry. So they gave us the OGL to protect us from them. Yep, that sounds about right. There are people, Mike said there's people that consider LGBTQIA plus people obscene just for existing, mostly the same crowd behind the Satanic Panic, so Wizards of the Coast can march itself into the sea for making common clause with them. Yes, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. This is easily like, the word obscene is not a good term unless you're going to define it, and you need to and how are you going to define it? That entire Big Brother section needs to be removed in totality. No waiver of rights. If we fail to exercise any right we have under the license, that failure will not prevent us from exercising that right in the future. So you guys get to waive rights, but we're never waiving anything, even if we don't exercise it right away. We might have just forgotten, we're going to get you on it later. Or basically we can sue you over and over and over again with different things and bully you with money. Servability. If any part of this license is held to be unenforceable or invalid for any reason, they decided to mention you, Feline, and the EU, the UK, Wizards may declare the entire license void, either as between it and the party that obtained the ruling, or in its entirety. Unless Wizards elects to do so, the balance of this license will be enforced as if that part which is unenforceable or invalid did not exist. Okay. Alright. Okay. Governing law jurisdiction class action waiver. This license and all matters relating to its interpretation and enforcement will be governed by the law of the state of Washington, and any disputes arising out of or relating to this license will be resolved solely and exclusively through individual litigation. They're making you waive your right to a class action lawsuit between people? How the fuck? How do you do that? This is the part that would be considered invalid. In the state or federal court located in the country in which Wizards or any successor has its headquarters. So they're basically trying to tell you that they're choosing the jurisdiction. That's not how jurisdiction works. Jurisdiction is argued in court. Like, the both parties have to agree, or the judge makes a ruling about where the jurisdiction is if there's a conflict. This literally doesn't work this way. I don't know how Again, I'm not a lawyer, so don't think this is legal advice, but this is not how this works. And the parties expressly consent to the jurisdiction of such courts. So they're basically telling you, you have to, by following this, you have to waive your rights that if you decide. They're basically stacking the deck. They're trying to stack the deck for anybody who does decide to go after them. Each party here too, or make it easier for them to sue other people as well. They're stacking the deck in their favor in court, period, end of sentence. Each party here too irrevocably waives the right to participate in any class, collective, or other joint action with respect to such dispute. Except that you said earlier that you waiver no rights. So if you're agreeing that you can't waiver this right, you have a clause in here saying that you're not waivering rights. What the fuck? Headings and footnotes. The headings and footnotes contained in this license are for reference purposes only and shall not affect in any way the meaning or interpretation of this license. Whatever. Waiver of a jury trial. We and you each waive any right except that you already have a waive no rights clause. So what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you saying this? Why would you? I don't. You're right, RJ. It's not the jurisdiction thing is not uncommon. Most of what Wizards is doing is not uncommon. A lot of this is stuff that you would see pretty standard. Not all of it, but there's some things in here that are really fucking bizarre. The reporting stuff when it came out, that was really fucking weird. We and you each waive any right to a jury trial of any dispute, claim, or clause of action or cause of action, sorry, related to or airing out this license. They hired Alex Jones's lawyers. How many rights that legally can't be waived are supposedly waived by signing this? I am not sure an actual lawyer wrote this. I don't know about speculating on that personally, but yeah. Review by counsel. You should seek advice of counsel to make sure you understand this license. I don't understand half of what you're telling me. You should agree that you have the opportunity to do so. I feel like you should be giving people more time if that's what you're expecting. I don't want to read the VTT policy. Okay, I'm ignoring the VTT policy for now. Go find that somewhere else. I don't want to cover that one. That's too much for me. Okay, so how much of that just went against what we read in here? Because I'm gonna ask you guys in the comment section below to please tell me what you noticed was in the license, and in Kyle here prepping us to read it about what we did and did not find. Okay. So that was that. Needless to say, people were not terribly impressed. And then here was this. Hey everyone, the survey for OGL 1.2 feedback is now live. We also wanted to respond to a few topics we've seen pop up over the past few days. We've seen people ask why OGL 1.2 doesn't explicitly say anything about money. That's because it's a free license. We'll make that clear in the next revisions. Okay. Why wouldn't you put that in the first set? Why? Why did you it was such a big deal in the first, like in the initial one. Why would you not cover that? Or at least say that in the whatever. Hateful and harmful content is harder to find. Is it now? What about obscene? That'd be a good one to cover. Hateful and harmful content is harder to find, and we know this is a sensitive topic. We're taking it and your input seriously. We will clarify the language around this in the next draft and encourage your specific feedback in this survey. So you're saying you're not willing to remove it? Because it should be removed. It should absolutely 100% be removed. It should not be in there, period, at all, because no, I'm not explaining this again. I already talked about why this is not allowed. No, nay. Fuck you. Get out of here. We understand there is a spectrum between virtual tabletops and video games. The VTT policy will get updated, and we'd like to hear your thoughts on the VTT policy question in our place of test survey. We love what we've seen so far. I'm gonna just press X to doubt real quick. Wizards of the Coast. Hateful and harmful content is harder to find. Me, you think? Also me. Then why did you put it in your legal documentation? If you didn't have it already defined, why did you put it in legal documentation? You should have had this defined ahead of time. And you probably should have presented it to everybody, particularly if you wanted feedback. You're just throwing shit at the wall and see what people are willing to buy and what people are willing to waive. I don't like it. I don't like it. No, fucking like it. No. I reject. Our amazing teams have the tools to go through your survey responses and we'll be collecting your feedback. Hey, this would have been a really good time to say what are those tools? And can we have access to them to some degree, or some kind of an updatable one that we can look at so that we can see what people are saying also, so that way we don't have to rely on you presenting that information when we don't fucking trust you and we shouldn't fucking trust you? Maybe? Could we have that, please? Please and thank you. Love you. No, we don't. Nobody likes you right now. This person made an interesting point. There's a lot of people who have covered like legal terminology, and I definitely recommend you go and look at some of that because they have great content, and I don't want to repeat what they're saying, or I don't want to like copy them, or I'm also not a legal person. So I definitely recommend you go and talk to legal professionals, and you also go and look at their content. I've confirmed with my lawyer. Wizards of the Coast say it has the word irrevocable and immediately redefine it. It is underneath it. It is an underhanded trick generally found in the Nine Hells. They will do anything to get rid of OLG 1.0a. This is not a compromise. This is not in good faith. And here's the examples they give. Let's talk about 1.2. Yeah, the license word irrevocable is in there. Yep, great. Okay, and license, meaning that content license under this license can never be withdrawn from the license. Good catch. Good catch. Because I don't recall reading the word. Yeah. In consideration of your compliance with this license, you may copy, use, modify, distribute, or license content around the world as part of your license work. This license is perpetual, meaning it has no end date, non-exclusive, meaning we can do whatever we want, and irrevocable, meaning, yeah, so they're defining irrevocable as meaning that content licensed under this license can never be withdrawn from the license. So they're not making the license irrevocable. Mike says, what, you think the people who try redefining words in contracts might lie to us about the survey results? You mean the people who had the original 1.0a intended to be in perpetuity and then changing it? Or trying to change it here? And then saying, well, this one's meant to, we're going to put that terminology in there to make sure it's there, and then redefining it so that way they could change it in the future? Wizard of the Coast, hateful and harmful is hard to define. Me, the color red is hard to define. This means you can never pull content from the license. They've used a word trick here, and irrevocable meaning basically the license itself can't be revoked. This is just wizards rolling a deception intelligence, be skeptical. I think it's reasonable. Kibbles here. Oh, that's adorable. Kibbles here makes a really good point. I don't think that, especially when it comes to legal jargon or anything legal that you're going to sign, make sure it's clear, make sure it's concise, make sure everybody fucking knows, make sure nothing is changeable. Go talk to a lawyer. Yada, yada, yada. Simple as that. Right? You have no reason to trust. Don't think of Wizards and D&D Beyond as this core group of people who care so much about the game. There are people that are part of Wizards, that are working for Wizards, that care about the game, and they're part of that core group. Wizards is a company. Wizards is, we make money. That's what Wizards is. Are there people in there? Yes, and they deserve to be treated with respect. They're doing their best. However, Wizards the company, D&D Beyond the company, Hasbro the company, are not people. They're not fucking people. I know that America has its fucking legal language around that and their own arguments about that. Do not treat them like they're stewards of the game that care so much and are just trying to protect it. No, they fucking aren't. They're trying to make money. They're a business. Simple as that. So make sure you treat them as such, which means a degree of skepticism higher than you would give to your neighbor. Oh my god, you could, Feline, if you would like. Define terms in the contract. You don't propose a draft like this and then don't define your terms, and then when people are like, what the fuck does this mean? Say, well, that's hard to define. No, you present it up front and transparent in clear and concise language like you said you were going to do. So fucking follow through. And stop pretending you own shit that you don't. You don't, the commons license shit is nothing. It is nothing. It is giving you nothing. You cannot give us the Brooklyn Bridge. You're not giving us rights to the Brooklyn Bridge. You don't own the rules. That's not how it works. We've gone over this before. Wizards of the Coast. Hey, new guy, Kyle. You want to see what the underside of a bus looks like? Wait, what? You're right. You're right. I kind of feel bad for Kyle. I don't know Kyle. I don't feel bad for Kyle because I don't know Kyle. Kyle might be a sleazeball. So I mean, I don't know anything about him. So he might be a great guy. He might be a sleazeball. I'm willing to withhold judgment about Kyle the person. What I'm reading of Kyle is nonsense, but I don't know if it's intentional nonsense or good-natured nonsense. Wizards can't grant you a license for something they don't own. And as long as they continue to pretend that they're doing you favors when they aren't doing you favors, you shouldn't believe anything else they're going to say after that. Because these guys literally just presented you, hey, listen, I'm going to give you this bridge. And then I'm going to do all this other shit. But because I gave you this bridge, this should be fine. Look at the bridge. It's fancy. It's got lights on it. They didn't own the bridge to give you in the first place. They're not giving you anything. If they wanted to really, what I had said at the beginning of all this is like, if they really wanted to regain people's like trust and start to work on that and do something impressive for the community, make everything that's related to 5th edition, except maybe some very particular things which they are specific about, open. Like everything that came out in 5th edition. Also, they still haven't told us what the plan is for D&D Beyond subscription costs. So, still waiting on that one. How about give us a peek behind the curtain, Wizards? If you want to be transparent and be clear and communicative. How about telling us why it's taken so long to respond? Why you're making the decisions you're making? How about telling us why you want to change this that isn't trying to blow smoke up people's ass about things that are obscene? We must think of the children. I'll take the bridge. Can I take tolls? No, but you're going to get some trolls. They'll live under it. Hey, did anybody watch the Troll movie from Friday, by the way? Did anybody watch that movie in the past overnight since I saw you guys last? Anyway, I'm changing the name of this show to The Shit Show. Because that seems to be what goes on here. It also matches my mug that my mom got me for Christmas. She knows me so well. I'm off tomorrow, as far as I know. And I'm off on Mondays. Mondays is like my staunch day off. You will not see me on Mondays. You will see art on Mondays, however. There is videos of art that I do that comes out on Mondays. And sometimes Sundays. So feel free to come and hang out in the side chat and chat about whatever topic we've talked about this week and whatever you feel like. Come and ask me questions. Actually, please come and ask me questions anytime. I will also be live again on Tuesday. I don't know what I'm covering on Tuesday, actually. I think I have stuff on the side, but I've forgotten what it is. Yeah, whatever. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. I'll see you on Tuesday for this same show. This is gonna happen on Tuesday. All right. So I'll see you guys on Tuesday for this. Come and chat with me, and please go and watch the previous content about this because it is still currently very applicable to what we're looking at now. So all those things that applied before still apply now. So I do look forward to hearing from your do you have dyslexia? I don't know. I've never been diagnosed with anything, but then again, I haven't been tested for anything. I know my mom supposedly, I don't know if she's ever been technically tested for it, but she says she has dyslexia, so maybe I do. I don't fucking know. I hate that think of the children bullshit. Me too. Me too. No, you didn't watch Troll. I wanted to watch a happy movie, so I watched Pinocchio. Mistakes were made. Oh, I'm sorry. Tolls and Trolls. That's the new... Oh, can we change Dungeons & Dragons to that? It can be Tolls and Trolls, because that's kind of what's happening. Oh my god! Tolls and Trolls? So Wizards over here with their Tolls and Trolls game. Yes? Yes? I assume Chesh has dyslexia until tests prove otherwise. That's fair. That's fair. Alright, I'm gonna get out of here. I may or may not have a new haircut by the time I see you guys. We'll see how that goes. thanks for coming. Please go watch the other videos covering this. I think I'm going to put it into a playlist, so look out for that. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment and all that shit. If you become a member, thank you so much for joining me. You get access to the Discord, so have some fun over there. If for whatever reason, if it doesn't give you access, send me a message. Either leave a comment or whatever. Find a way to contact me. I'm all over the place. There's emails also. You can email me. If you become a Patreon, thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. And yes, please go and check out the other content because there's a lot more people that have come out to talk, particularly on this channel. We had a big panel that was open access. We had another panel that was a little bit more concise, but it had different people on it. There's been a total of 10 plus people that have come around to sort of discuss this. So please go and check those out. I know it's like 10 hours worth of content, and now add another however long I've been live onto that. So I think before this is over, there'll be well over 20 hours worth of content just about this as it kind of develops and as we kind of look at it. I am really, really looking forward to and curious because we're not going to see it until February. So in 2 weeks or so, expect another video from me on this in particular, assuming I don't have one sooner. Stephen Granade's coming back. He's coming back sometime in February, so that's going to be really fun. He built a game, and so we're going to talk about game development. So if you're interested in building your own game, come and find out all you need to know in the process there of what we're going to kind of be talking about that day. I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much for joining me. Greatly appreciate it. I'm going to go get some food because I ate a cookie today, and that was it. So I'm going to get something to eat. And I will see you guys on Tuesday. And again, come by on Monday for a pre-recorded video. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Sunday, I'm probably going to be editing all day. So that way the show has an opening. I'm going to get out of here. I'm losing track of my life. Okay, bye! Y'all should just give me your D&D Beyond subscriptions, by the way. Cool, thanks, bye.